Hello everyone and welcome back to another Strategoy video. It's still index hype and we're back with more Lumineth content. It's part 2 of the War Scroll reviews. If you haven't picked anything about that up before, Ryan, Siegfried and I, we did a index Lumineth review on Thursday. But we didn't want to cover all the War Scrolls in that review because we approach it as we would usually do with our Battle Tome reviews. So we both picked 2 Battle Scrolls to talk War Scrolls, sorry, to talk about. But I still wanted to cover all of the separate War Scrolls as well because we're changing to a new edition, so everything is kind of new, and that's why we're doing this video series. We've already done Teclis, Alania, and Eltharion, and all of the Vanari units, and as well as the Idrillan Riverblades. And today, we're working on Eltharion and the Vanari units. So it's just you and me once again, Siegfried. Are you hyped for the Vanari stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
I think you are. I mean, if you've seen the index review, you already know that Siegfried is super hyped about the Dawn Riders. But I'm looking forward to having that conversation with you once again.
Yeah, I'm in love.
Okay, let's take a look at the summary before we get into the lovely part here. So part 1 is already done. You can check that out right now. It's on our channel where you can see our review of Teclis, Vanari, the Riverblades, and Alania and Elthor. And today we're doing Eltharion and all of the Vanari stuff. So quite a long video. And then I will probably do the Alrith and Hurricane stuff solo, Seek, because we've already covered most of the War Scrolls in a previous video. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's called all of the Lumineth leaks so far, and that's where Siegfried and I kind of go through almost all of the Alrith and Hurricane stuff. So I think we only didn't cover the normal Wind Spirit, the normal Mountain Spirit, and the Wind Mage, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you know, the Wind Spirit is something that we already covered in the index review anyway, so
Yeah.
might be a little bit overlap there, but I'm a completionist, so I'm gonna do the review for Alrith and Hurricane as well. All right. If you haven't seen part 1 yet and you're mainly looking for Eltharion or the Vanari stuff, we try to bring you something different with our content compared to the content that other phenomenal YouTubers are already doing. There's so many good content out there already that's covered all of the War Scrolls, but we wanted to give you something extra, something with a little bit Strategoy flavor, you know. And one of those things that we're gonna give you is a 5-star rating per War Scroll. Now it's still early days, so keep in mind that opinions might and probably will change, and that the rating is pretty rough. So there's no halves. It's not like 3.5 stars. It's just 1 to 5. 1 being a unit that's best avoided in your list. 2 stars, it's fine, but probably suboptimal. There's another unit that's doing mostly the same things for a cheaper price, for example. Then you've got this 3-star review, which is a pretty solid unit, but not amazing. It's not shining on its own. It usually fulfills a small role that makes it useful in an army as a whole. 4-star units are great in most situations. They might be actually great solo pieces or super strong buffers. And then 5-star units, which we'll see 2 and maybe 2.5 for in this video, Seek, are units that are really phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Spoilers, 5 stars is one of the units that Siegfried's in love with. Okay. Onto the Light of Eltharion. So, man, how the mighty have fallen, right?
Yeah, they did him dirty.
Yeah, it's almost a deja vu from Teclis, where I'm like, I'm most hyped for these War Scrolls, and then I'm like super bummed now. And it's just something about named heroes that hit differently, and every time a named hero is like meh, I'm always massively disappointed because it just you lose so much flavor by not being able to bring good named heroes, right?
Yeah.
So we briefly talked about the Light of Eltharion in part 1, and we talked about Eltharion at length in the index review. But what it boils down to is his War Scroll is actually pretty good, Seek, but his point cost is just way too overpriced, right?
Yeah.
So he still does all things that you want Eltharion to do. He's still a pretty efficient melee blender. He's very reliable, compared to, for example, Alani and Elthor that outclass him in damage on average, but at least he'll reach those averages more easily because he can never be modified in any shape or form. He has an inbuilt 5-up ward now, which is nice, and unmodifiable 3-up save. All great things, especially in 4th edition. But it's actually harder for him to get in combat now because you can't double up his movement anymore with Speed of Fish. You can still bump his movement up to 10 inches, which is nice. But you usually needed that extra 2 inches, right? Especially in a world where redeploy is something that you have a much harder time to negate now than you did before. He's also more expensive, and his damage compared to his older version is actually massively reduced. I think on average it went from 15 damage to 10 damage or something like that.
It was 15 with his old shooting, quote unquote,
oh, right, that's the one.
available.
Yeah.
And now it's around 12, almost 13. It depends.
Yeah.
But
so, yeah, go ahead.
If he fights a hero and or monster, it fluctuates a bit.
Yeah. But that being said, not a lot because it's only 2 attacks, right? Still 3 damage though, which is nice, but only 2 attacks. That being said, I mean, he's a paragon. He can bring a paragon. He can bring any Lumineth units. He's not a war master, so even if he gets slain, you don't actually need to put him in a general's regiment, for example. So you could sacrifice him. He needs a point reduction. Let's be honest about that. He just needs to be 220 or something like that, and then we're talking again. But 250 is probably too steep a price.
Yeah, 220 or 210 perhaps. Yeah. And it's not that much about the damage. The damage is worse. His utility is a bit worse because his old shooting ability could ignore the Lookout Sir.
Yeah.
It could spike and kill a small hero. Now all these things are gone. And I mean, I'm generally opposed to all these shooting abilities that went to 12 inches range. So, I mean, I would prefer if it was gone and instead his melee attacks were better.
Yeah.
Because there is a hidden nerf in all those stats. Because if you try to shoot at the target that you are going to charge, the opponent has always the option to remove models closer to that of Eltharion, which is the unit in question, and make your charge harder. So it ends up at sometimes to be a really bad effect. Because if you lose your charge, what does it mean? A bit of extra damage that you did with your shooting ability.
Yeah, I mean, this ranged weapon is also ignoring the guarded hero effectively because it's 12 inches, and if you're within 12 inches, you can still target them, right?
Yeah.
So there is that, but it's only D3 damage, which is not amazing at all. Yeah, he lost 2 wounds. He doesn't have the damage anymore, so he did get his ward, which is nice, but losing that halving damage is pretty impactful as well.
That is the crux of it, because before he could duel even the most powerful heroes, because with the half damage, the 8 wounds, and the fact that you could give him the 5-up ward. It's nice for him to have it on his own. Makes him even more not dependent on other units, more independent. But he's so much more squeezier now, because only 6 wounds. And there are so many anti-infantry tech out there that may give him impact hits or mortal wounds, and 6 wounds are it's a problem he had before the last incarnation of him. The wave of attacks will destroy him, and now this is even worse. So with 280 points you can have 10 Blade Lords, and they will have almost the same damage, if not more, in certain conditions.
Yeah.
And they are 20 wounds, not
Yeah,
S6.
and 10 control.
Yes. So, and he doesn't have any other utility. He fights.
Yeah, he just needs a little bit more. Like a small thing could make it work. The War Scroll is so close to being good enough for the points, or just lower the points. Either one of the two would work.
Yeah. I think at 210 he would be okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Now he fights with the twins for
Yep.
supremacy.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I put that in the last video as well, and we've already talked about this at length in the index review, so go check it out. But as you can see here, oh, I actually didn't put the comparison of the twins in there, so that's something. But the twins outclass him starting from turn 3, I think. So up until turn 1 and 2, he's fine, but from turn 3 onwards, the twins start to outclass him in some regards. You can also see here in the second slide that the damage difference versus a hero or a monster isn't as big as you would think on average. I mean, it's 1 damage at best sometimes. So yeah, just
it's
that being said, doing 6 damage on average against a 2+ save, which is usually something that heroes would sit at with 3+ and then maybe out defense, for example, usually means that you're killing that small hero at least. So that's something. But that's the only good thing I have to say about it.
And the fact that it cannot be debuffed is important, because now, in the old days, he always just hit on 2s, but now his to wound is cannot be modified, and also the number of attacks he can make.
Yeah.
So at least he's very, very stable.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look at the different another war scroll, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, Lyrior. This is a war scroll that I've never taken once, except for a narrative battle that I did. That's the only time that I ever took Lyrior. I might actually take him now at some point, because I think his damage is actually quite alright. And doing all-out attack for free on a Vanari unit is nice. But his spell is so weird. I don't know what you think about it, but 7 to cast for, on average, about 10 to 11 mortal damage versus a manifestation, and or doing, you know, mortal wound damage on a 5-up, depending on the model size or the unit size. In you know, an edition earlier, this would have been very interesting. 5 damage, 5-up to mortal, 5 mortal wounds versus unit size. But now unit size are going to be smaller, so the damage that you're actually going to get through this ability is actually quite small. And do you really want to waste? That's something I'm thinking about, Siegfried. Do you really want to gamble on first rolling a 6-up and then hopefully rolling enough damage to kill a manifestation instead of just banishing it?
Yeah, that's the crux of it, because, you know, 95% perhaps of the banishment values is 7.
Yeah.
So you need 7 to cast, 7 to banish. So if I roll a 7+, I will banish the manifestation, or I can try to roll again a 7+, let the opponent have a chance to unbind it, and then roll the 3d6 mortal damage, which may not be enough if I roll poorly. So the first part of the spell is almost worthless, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But the second one may have some gas in the tank, depending on how the meta will evolve. Because the way I've seen, many of the Horde units are even worse stat-wise than they were. Mm-hmm. But the fact that there is no Battle Shock means that you will have to chew them to the end.
Yeah.
So we may see some Horde meta eventually, not initially, eventually.
Yeah.
Because initially I would think most players will gravitate more in cavalry builds.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, yeah. That being said, he's a decent all-around commander. He can bring all Alarith and all Vanarians, which is a pretty juicy combination, right? You have your Alarith core with some Spirits of the Mountain, and then you've got your cavalry or maybe even your Sentinels with Lyrior. So there's something to say about him, but 240 points is so expensive.
Yeah, I mean, this is my main gripe with both him and Light of Eltharion and the Lord Regent, as we will see down the road.
Yeah, they could all use a 30 to 40 point decrease in points.
Yeah, I mean, the point increase in some of our units was baffling.
Yeah, and the thing is, we'll talk about the Lord Regent in a second, but for the Lord Regent, she has one ability that can make her amazing in one very specific situation. So I can understand that she's hard to price, but Lyrior is just so basic. Like, how can you rate this unit as a 240 point model?
Yes, I mean, he's just a decent, relatively decent fighter for his points.
Yeah.
That can also give a free all-out attack, and
that's it.
Has a decent spell.
Yeah, and even the spell is not necessarily decent in all situations. Maybe sometimes versus hordes. I feel like the spell is also quite expensive, you know.
We'll see it lots of times, and that there won't be any hordes.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we'll see. I also feel like the Voice of Tyrion could just as well have been, if this unit is wholly within, 24 inches or something like that, because he's a huge commander. He's on a massive war beast. I feel like 12 is small for, that's his biggest thing. So, yeah, a little bit strange. Maybe a small ward would have been nice as well.
Yeah, I think he needed something, or a point reduction. I think with a point reduction, he will be fine too.
Yeah. If they would have swapped the Voice of Tyrion ability with the Charge of the Lumineth ability, that would have made him totally worth it, because he is actually a model that you want in combat. He's actually quite alright damage-wise compared to, for example, Dawn Riders. And then you would want to charge with him as it is with the ability from the Lord Regent. And I feel like the Lord Regent would be fine if she were much less expensive, and then get the all attack buff here.
Yes, I fully agree.
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at the Lord Regent, and also a 2-star rating, mainly because of her points, because the damage is just pathetic. We'll look at the stats in a second, but you basically bring her for the two abilities that she has. So she still has the Aether Quartz as the only hero in our army, but it's also once per battle, which is, it's so disgusting. Why?
Yeah, and it gives -1 to hit, which you will probably already have with the Facet of War.
Yeah.
One thing that is a bit egregious with this index of ours is the fact that we have so many overlapping rules. -1 to hit again, -1 to hit again, -1 to hit, and 5 upward, and then 5 upward, and you also have the spell.
Yeah.
And
the
one ability makes the other redundant. It's a bit frustrating.
Yeah, the only thing that I'll say as a counter argument to that, Siegfried, is that I'm actually happy that there's some overlapping of the 5-up ward, because it makes me feel it doesn't force me to cast Protection of Hysh.
Yeah.
And that's something that I do enjoy. But for the -1 hit, I do understand your point here. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on Blade Lords, I think it's good. It's great.
Yeah.
On other units, not that good. So the 6-up ward on Avalenor, for example, is not that great. Or the requirements for the 5-up ward on Stoneguard is even worse. So yeah, it's a bit of a hit or miss.
Yeah. Now, if you want to bring Dawn Riders or Sentinels, you're gonna need one of the Vanari units, or one of our bigger units like Alani and Elthor, or Eltharion or Teclis. But she would allow the Dawn Riders and Sentinels to be included in your regiment here, and she has once per battle ability. That's basically the reason why she's so expensive, I think. And that's the Charge of the Lumineth. Pick this unit and up to 2 Vanari Dawn Rider units. I don't know why it doesn't just say friendly Vanari units. That would have been totally fine as well. Because it doesn't say Charge of the Dawn Riders, right? It says Charge of the Lumineth. So anyway.
Right. Yeah.
It would just make the ability much more interesting, I think. Because 2 Dawn Rider units, okay, then you're thinking, like, how many Dawn Rider molds would you actually need for this to be worth it? And that's what I mean by the notes here, like potentially backbreaking for your opponent. The only reason why I would ever pay 230 for this unit is if you're bringing 20 Dawn Riders, 2 units of 10.
Yeah.
Because
Agreed.
Then you get the mileage out of this buff, but otherwise it's better to just bring another Dawn Rider unit.
Yeah, and again, this has been a thing for me with the Lumineth. I saw some Warscrolls and I was excited, and then I saw so Vanari Regent sounds great. The ability is awesome. It's one use, but with a good strategist can make great use of it. And I was 230 points.
Yeah. I mean, we were all so hyped.
150. He was 150.
Yeah.
He has 1 wound more. His DPS is worse. So let's say those things balance each other. His purest Ether Chords, again, let's say that it balances out with his old Ether Chords, purest Ether Chords ability. And again, the Charge of the Lumineth is great, but the spell he used to have that gave to D3 units power of his, I think it's on equal level, if not better. So all in all, in my eyes, he is of the same overall potential, but he's 80 points more expensive. So I cannot fathom what went on the minds of the creator here.
Yeah, I mean, they must have thought, like, if someone's bringing 20 Dawn Riders, this unit is super strong. So they're probably pricing it for that. But then I'm like, okay, that's one situation, and I hate Warscrolls that get punished for one specific gimmick that is abused by certain players. And I mean, you need to abuse it if you want to bring the Lord Regent, because why else are you paying 230 points? It's just that the Aether Course thing I think is cool, but what I really would have loved to see on both Lyriors and the Lord Regents as Warscroll is allowing you to use the Facet of War to for Power of Hish a second time.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if it was once per battle, that would have been way more interesting for me. Anyway,
again, the redeeming quality is that with a hefty point reduction, he will be fine.
I mean, would you bring it for 180?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sure. Even in 190. I mean, but above that is tough sell.
Yeah.
I still may use the Warscroll, but it will be a conscious, very conscious choice.
The thing is, Sieg, if this unit gets much cheaper, you know it's gonna get more expensive, right?
Yeah.
So at the end, the sum is gonna remain the same, and then I rather have the Lord Regent be massively overpriced, and then at least I can bring Dawn Riders for, a decent price tag.
Agreed.
Anyway, let's take a look at some stats here. So you made these stats for me here, so thank you for that. So you have a damage comparison, Lyrior with the charge and his shooting included versus one of our Lord Regent or versus 5 Dawn Riders on the charge. I mean, those numbers, I asked you whether those were correct because I could not believe the numbers on the Regent were this bad.
Yeah, and I mean, he's worse. His DPS wasn't anything to write home about, and now it's even worse. And for no reason. I mean, she's a fighter hero.
Yeah, she was always like a back piece, stay in the back piece where she was riding behind her Vanari units, and I could see that as a commander from their steed, like calling out commands. But that's not what I'm getting from the War Scroll. If they had swapped, as I said before, the all-out attack buff from Lyrior to the with the charged one, then I could see it. Lyrior is the one that wants to be in combat, so he has a charged thing that motivates units to be in combat. And then the Regent is someone that shouts orders and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I don't see it at all. I don't see it at all.
Yeah, I mean, this is 230 points for 3.67 damage on a 4+ unit. It's, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, and adding an extra attack to a Dawn Rider unit is nice, or even to 2 Dawn Rider units. But keep in mind, guys, if you're bringing one extra Dawn Rider unit for a cheaper price, you actually get those attacks on a full unit as well, with more wounds and such. So
yes,
the trade-off is just so obvious here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
On to better
and upward
vibes. The banner blades. I was reading our last Battletome review, Seek, from 3rd edition for the Lumineth, and the banner blades was actually one of my picks for favorite War Scrolls because I thought he would finally be good at 80 points. Yet I have only taken him once and regretted it for the entire battle. So here we are again with a 130-point War Scroll now, and the question, is he finally good? I'm gonna let you take this one. What do you think?
Not that much.
Okay.
I mean, he used to be 70 points, and now he's 130. So it's almost double the points. His DPS is a bit better, but again, with so few attacks, is almost inconsequential. His other stats are the same, with the difference that he already has 5 control. But again, it's taken into consideration the ability of his world banner, because the ability of the world banner says add 3 to control scores of other friendly Lumineth Realm-Lord units.
Yeah.
So it's more or less the same, and I mean, +3 to the control score is awesome.
Yeah,
I think it's a great ability.
Yeah, and holding within 80 inches is quite a generous distance, right?
Yes, and he's the only hero, the extra hero that we can have in another regiment.
Yeah, he's a paragon.
So that is also great, but I believe again he's too expensive. But with 110 points perhaps, and we need some cheap units. Now you can't have allies, you don't have the old endless spells.
Yeah.
The cheapest unit we have is the Cathalar with 120 points. So it's we need something cheaper in order to be able to fill our lists.
I do feel like he's the cheapest way to get Dawn Riders and Sentinels in a list. So there is something to be said about that. But then if you're taking Eltharion or Alania and Elthor, you can bring your Dawn Riders and Sentinels under their banner anyway, right?
Yes. He's still a good target for you to give your silver wand to. And it will be cool for him to get the silver wand and be on the shrine.
Yeah.
As it was one of his main things in the old days.
Yeah.
So I think 3 stars are a good grade.
I'm bringing this guy in my shrine for sure, since the shrine can move anyway.
Yeah. I think he has some. I'm not sure how how much of a difference +3 to the control score will
I think
bring.
it might actually come up big sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, if you lean on having a high control score, I think he will be a good asset. Perhaps there is some secret sauce with him, pairing him up with Cathalar.
Yeah.
And because if you give +3 and you remove d6 from the opponent, then that makes a difference.
Yeah.
A more substantial difference, at least.
Yeah, I like him. He's just never going to be a unit that I pick first. You know, he'll be the unit where I'm looking at my points and like, I have X amount of points left. What am I gonna fill it up with? And then I'm like, maybe I'll take the Banner Blade this time. But I'm starting a list now and I'm taking the Banner Blade from the get-go, and then I'll see what I'm adding. That's never gonna be the case.
Yeah, and I mean, if you are to bring him, why not bring the River Blades, for example?
Yeah. I mean,
if you are such a tight point allowance remaining.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
I think 3 stars is fine. He's good.
I kind of like him. I really wish they would have given him the wizard keyword.
Yeah.
Since all our Vanari units, like just normal units, lost all of their wizarding stuff, I was like, at least give the Banner Blade back just give him the casting stuff, because if a regent has it, why wouldn't he, you know? And I make him 150 or something, then we would be talking.
Yeah, that will be fine. Or make him as he is, but 110.
Yeah, 110 would be totally cool. Yeah, I agree. Okay. So on to the normal units here. We're starting off with Wardens because, I mean, they're the basic standard of our army still, because any Lumineth hero can bring Wardens. I kind of thought it was nice of them to still make that obvious, like, everyone's bringing Wardens, you guys. They can still be in every regiment. Which is nice. It's one of their perks, you know, that they're the most flexible pick in all of our index. But the reason why you're bringing them is compared to River Blades or compared to Blade Lords is they have mortal wounds on the 6s to hit, which the Blade Lords can also have in some shape or form, but these guys have the quantity of mortal wounds then. But they also have this neat ability now called Wall of Blades, that if you are charged, or if you're attacking a unit that's charged, you're rolling a dice, and on a 4+ you get strike first, and first cavalry would be 3+. That's interesting. Even if it doesn't work, even if it doesn't go off, just the mind game of it. I don't think I would be scared of 10 Wardens with strike first, but 20 Warden Seek, I would be hesitant to charge any unit into them, and definitely if it's cavalry.
Yeah. I mean, if the meta turns out to be cavalry heavy, which I believe it will be, but initially it won't last. That's my feeling, at least. On a 3-up, I think it's okay, but on a 4-up, it's just I don't like these kind of abilities.
Yeah, I hate them as well.
Yeah. I mean, if the opponent needs to make that charge because he needs to do that battle tactic, and he will make the charge.
Yeah.
And you will either roll that 4-up and do great damage and perhaps deny him the tactic or the kill. But if you don't roll it, then I mean, I'm really conflicted about this unit. I think initially I won't be using them at all.
I'm just not going to use them because I have been forced to take this unit every single time that I've played a game.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I can leave the house without Wardens for once, I would be happy. You know, I agree with all of your points. I don't like Warscrolls that are useful only half of the time. So on a 4+, only half of the time. That being said, Seek, their melee output is exactly the same if they charged as they were in the previous books. And 20 it's actually even better because the champion now has a Warden Pike as well.
Yes.
20 Wardens is 41 attacks. Now, you used to cast Power of Hish on a 5-up and then they would be phenomenal. You don't have to do that anymore. Now your opponent can't do anything against it. So you pop the Power of Hish, Facet of War. 41 attacks with Mortal Wounds on a 5. That kills a lot of stuff, let me tell you. So even if the Wall of Blades doesn't work out, I still think they're a phenomenal unit on the charge if they're reinforced. So there is something to say about that.
Yes, I just think that there are better targets for the Power of His.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you're bringing Sentinels, you're probably not gonna waste your Power of Vision Wardens.
Sentinels or Dawn Riders. I mean, even Blade Lords.
Yeah.
I mean, they have fewer attacks, as we will see. But again, they are a good target, and they have other useful abilities that I think bring them on the top.
Yeah, the only reason why I don't feel like Power of Vision on these guys is always worth it is because you need to say what unit you're picking at the start of a battle round, which means that you still need to move, you still need to charge, and your opponent can actually retaliate or even deal damage first to your unit depending on what's happening in your battle rounds before you get the mileage out of that. Whereas with Dawn Riders, they have more movement, so they'll make their charge more easier usually, Sentinels, they're ranged, so you usually know when they're gonna be in range. So that's the only downside that I see to this unit getting Power of Hished.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, let's move on to the Blade Lords because we're gonna look at a comparison damage-wise between these two units in a second. So also 140, they continue the trend of pricing them the same way. But they went, they don't continue the trend because Wardens were never the same price with Blade Lords, except maybe in 2nd edition. But then Blade Lords were terrible back then.
I think that there may be an instance in time.
Yeah.
When the stars had aligned and they had the same point cost.
So Blade Lords are still phenomenal. I would actually dare to give these guys a 5-star rating, but I didn't want to because I know. I know myself and I know that I'm a Blade Lords fanboy. But damn, these guys are good. Yeah,
I'm a fanboy of Blade Lords myself. I just love this unit. And, they have more or less the same damage output. But the fact that they can still do those 9 mortal wounds, and most units in the game went down in DPS, that in and on itself brings them up. And the fact that there is no that many mortal wounds in the game. And also, I believe the great sauce about their offensive capabilities is the fact that you cannot debuff them. So plus -1 to hit, I don't care. -1 to
perfect
hit,
strike,
I don't care. -1 to attack profile. Okay, I lost 1 attack from the champion. This is so great. So great. Many people won't see it initially, but it will be very important.
Yeah, on average, their damage got actually just got plain better, and their survivability went up by a ton as well because now when they're in combat range of a Vanari hero, for example, Alani and Elthor, both of those units get a 5-up ward. I mean, that's amazing. You used to need Power of Hish to do that. Now you can just run up Alani and Elthor with 20 Blade Lords, 10 on either side of them maybe, and then bam, bash your opponent's faces in with a 4-up save, 5-up wards, wall of blades, and I just love, and I know that's an evil part of me, that's probably why I play Lumineth as well. I just love that point in a battle, Siegfried, where I'm rolling dice with my Blade Lords, and they're like, okay, and they're telling me I'm -1 to hit. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna use Perfect Strike. I roll a dice, that's 9 mortal wounds. And they're like, wait, there's no interaction? No, sorry, your hero just died.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know how, I mean, I think most Lumineth players will feel this. How many times in a battle you failed a crucial protection of his, and you
Yes.
lost the game
Yeah.
just because you failed the spell, or it got unbound. I mean, there are many of the losses I've suffered were due to that
Yeah.
failed protection of his. The army was so dependent on it, and now we have a solid infantry that can have it without any dice roll. And the twins are I believe, the best choice, because they can be uh, in the thick of the fight and be with Blade Lords
Yeah.
and charge with them and stay with them. You can have the twins and 2 units of 10 Blade Lords from the right and the left side, and this is a mini castle that can go and fight, and you won't have that anxiety with
Yeah.
protection of his.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for me, at least.
Yeah, and let me give you a different idea, maybe. Caligrave, magical intervention, pop an endless spell in your opponent's face when they charge. They come into range of your endless spell, maybe it's blocking something off, then they try to hit your Blade Lords, well, -1 hit from Shining Company and 5 wards. And then you still get to go with all of your Blade Lord shenanigans. That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
The only bummer about this War Scroll is I probably can't do it all in the same battle round, because I'm gonna run some Huracan units for sure. So I'm either gonna have to choose Huracan, Shining Company, or Parafish. So I'm probably dropping the Parafish in that scenario.
Yeah, yeah. But good news is they don't need it.
Yeah.
It is a good, yeah, it's a good thing situationally if you can have it.
Yeah.
But they don't actually need it.
Yeah, let's since we're talking about it anyway, let's quickly look at the stats for the Parafish Wardens and Blade Lords. So both of these are reinforced, just want to point that out. So that's 280 points for each. So you can see here, 20 Wardens, if they get charged with Parafish, it actually doesn't matter anymore, right? They could just be charging as well. It doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, both with the anti-infantry of Blade Lords, and if they get charged of Wardens, the anti-charge.
Yeah.
It doesn't make that much of a difference.
Yeah, for Wardens it makes no difference at all, because there's no anti-charge bone. Oh, well, there is on their weapons, of course. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the extra end.
Yeah. But yeah, as you can see here, the Wardens still outclass the Blade Lords, but keep in mind, it's less dependable and you need Parafish on them.
Yeah, and it's not that much of a difference.
Yeah.
It is a difference, but it's 3.5 damage, around 3.5 damage more.
Yeah.
And I just prefer that 5 upward.
I find it interesting though, Siegfried. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
That was, and the flexibility of Perfect Strike is, I think, it would work much more.
Yeah, I find it interesting that Perfect Strike even gets outclassed at a 2-up save by the Flurry of Blows with Parafish.
Yes, because now they always have 3 attacks.
Yeah, because Perfect Strike is gonna be 9-ish or 8 and whatever it is on average all of the times, but at worst, Parafish on Flurry of Blows is almost 13 damage. Pretty neat.
Yes, agreed. But, if you think about it, so, okay, I can have Power of His on the Blade Lords, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they will do, versus 14. I mean, it's 4 to 5 damage more, depending on the save. So is that worth losing the -1 to hit?
Yeah.
From the other 5 spaces?
Yeah, true.
That is why I think the Power of His in many instances is a moot point.
Yeah, I think they also completely missed the the point when they made the Power of Hishbal formation, but we talked about that in the Lumineth Index review. But I just felt like it should have said you can use Power of Hish twice.
Yeah, I think it was on purpose, but I don't think it was a good choice.
Yeah. Okay. Sentinels then. Also an interesting unit. We've talked about this unit at length in the Index review. I asked Ryan to do some amazing math for them and comparison-wise to all our other ranged units. So definitely go check that out because you're gonna have a much more in-depth version from Ryan there. But Sentinels are amazing. They got cheaper and they actually got better if you ask me. They can be taken by the usual stuff: Lord Regent, Banner Blades, Eltharion, Teclis, Alani, Elthor, and Lyrior. But versus most targets, they actually have better damage, even though they lost their mortal wounds on 6s. They now auto wound on 6, but they get an extra shot, and they always have rend, which is very nice.
Yes, and the champion also.
Oh yeah, true.
Shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get 20 shots compared to the 9 before that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a great buff, and it's more fair. I hope it will give us much less hate.
Yeah.
Because and I mean, almost all shooting units in the game have critical auto wounds. So
yeah. Yeah, and you see these stats almost everywhere, right? Reavers have the same thing. The Blood Sisters have, or the Shooty Snakes have somewhat of the same damage output, so it's recognizable throughout the game.
Yes, yes. They are a great target for Power of His in the first or second battle round, if you can spare it. And I think the 5 stars is very good grade, and also I think the great thing about this unit is that you don't want to spam them. So a unit of 20 will be gold in many lists, and that's it.
Yeah,
no more.
Yeah,
because as soon as they get engaged in combat, it's over. It's over. They will either be dead or worthless. They won't be able to shoot. So and 20 of them have take quite a bit of space. So if you have another 20, you won't be able to protect them.
Yeah, I also agree. I think 20 is a sweet spot.
Yes, yes.
I could see a world, Siegfried, where you get two units of 20. I could see it happen. But then you're gonna get into that game where, I don't know, it's gonna be outdropping your opponent, so you get at least a value of those 82 shots at the first turn. I don't know.
Yes, and having such lists leads to big wins and big losses with the priority roll.
Yeah.
If you get double turn, you're screwed, most likely. So I think 20 is a good enough of an investment with good gains without that much risk. And we have, as we have talked already, and you will elaborate more with the Huracan units, we have other shooting choices.
Yeah, and keep in mind, if you're doubling up on Sentinels, Sentinel units, so you're bringing more than one big unit, for example, you can't use Parafish twice anymore. It's just not a thing. So you are going to lose some value from that.
Yes, and they can't target small heroes anymore. So.
Which is nice. Which is
yes,
very good.
And fair. Yeah,
I feel like this unit is finally an actual archer unit. They shoot a lot of arrows. It's high quantity, not high quality. I find it so weird that 10 guys were meant to be snipers. It makes no sense. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, A+.
Yeah.
As a design choice.
Good job, GW. Thank you for making Sentinels nice and not hated. Okay. Well, quite a stark difference here. A different range unit to Ballista. 20 points cheaper than Sentinels, but you're moving from from 21 attacks to 3 shots. You do get 6 inches more, and if you want, even 12 inches more if you're within 6 inches or 12 inches of a Sentinel unit. But the damage is just so bad. It's so bad, even versus monsters.
I mean, it's worse than before. They managed. I mean, before it was 3 attacks on the 2-up, 3-up, -2 rend D3 damage, and they just did 3 damage versus monsters. And now it's 3 attacks, 2-up, 3-up, -1 rend D3 damage, and it gets to the old profile of -2 rend if you shoot at the monster. And it just crits on 2 hits on a 6, but it's only 3 attacks. I mean,
it's so bad.
Yeah, it's really, really bad. I mean, I don't think I will get this unit even if it was 80 points.
Yeah. No, it's super,
unless
super,
I only
super
had 80 points in the list.
Yeah. Even if Blinding Bolts was once per turn instead of once per battle, it would still be bad. And even if they said when hitting a monster, this unit inflicts 3 damage instead of D3, like they did with the Wind Spirit, it would still be bad.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I mean, I think this is the worst war scroll in this index by far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I really can't defend them.
No, the only upside you could say like about their war scroll is the fact that they have 24 and maybe 30-inch range. But that's only useful in battles or in scenarios where your army doesn't move and you need to have reach, you know? But now we have the wind charges that are actually useful. The wind spirits are all great. The dawn riders are great. So you have so many fast things to reach your opponent with. Why would you actually need that amount of reach on your ranged shots anymore?
Yeah, and what will you do with the reach if it's a water pistol, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
that's weird.
Yeah, from the highest to the lowest.
Yeah,
right?
it needs so much more than this.
Yeah, I think this is a war scroll that can't get fixed with points.
Yeah,
it needs a rework.
If you think about it, if you double up on this unit, you pay 240 points, which is about the same as a Wind Spirit, I think.
Yeah, 260 for 2 ballistas, 240 for.
Sorry, 260 and 240. Yeah, that's a mix-up. I still think the Fox wins in damage, and you get the movement and the buffs on top of that.
Yeah, it's.
Let's.
Yeah,
let's take a quick look here at the stats.
It's 1,000 times better anti-monster tech.
Yeah, so you can look at the stats here, guys. 2 Star Shard Ballistas, so 260 points. Deal 6 wounds to a 6-up save.
Yeah, that's a mosquito bite, if I ever saw one.
Oh my god. I mean, a Vanari Lord's Regent is cheaper and deals more damage, I think. It's
it's really bad.
Mm-hmm. That being said, the damage from the Wind Spirits and Severed isn't amazing either. Is your calculation here correct? Because 4 damage on a Wind Spirit seems very iffy on average.
Well, no, because it's not. The Wind Spirit's only really good versus monsters.
Okay.
That is, as I mean, we have already talked about the Wind Spirit in the previous video, but it's only 4 attacks on a 2-up, 3-up -rend D3 damage, so it's highly it fluctuates.
Yeah.
It's not that good, but you get all those, and if it finds a monster, his damage becomes pretty much the same as Severeth.
Yeah.
So, as I said, you will take the wind spirits if you want to go and chase monsters. And I believe, and as I have already said, you will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were very hyped about the monster hunting aspect, but you can check that out in the index review.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the hypest war scroll of the index. I mean, the Discord exploded when we learned about the stats of this unit. So Dawn Riders, they finally do what they look like. They are so armored. They're finally a 3-up save. Thank God for that. And their damage is actually amazing now. I mean, it's so good. Their ability is meh, but the damage is amazing, and the ability for 10 Donor is actually still quite good to kill a small hero or something like that.
Yes, Deathly Furrows will be very powerful because if you face an infantry, this goes on top of their great damage.
Yeah.
So it spikes versus infantry. They will murder it.
Yeah, and the unit is such a great sponge for buffs. I mean, the Lord Regent buff obviously charges Lumineth. If you have a way to make him ethereal, obviously, I mean, I mixed it up with Alani and Elthor, so that wouldn't work. But maybe there's something in the later edition that you're gonna get. It soaks up wards pretty nicely. If you have Power of Vision on a Lord Regent and you're charging them in with Dawn Riders, whew, that is a juicy unit to fight with.
Yeah, I mean, they are a hard elite cavalry unit. That was what they should have been from day one.
Yeah.
It was really disheartening seeing this unit, which is, I think, one, perhaps, in my opinion, the most beautiful cavalry model.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been wargaming for over 24 years now.
Yeah.
And this is by far my favorite cavalry unit visually. And to see them just be Conga screen to die in the first turn was,
heartbreaking.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah.
And now they're tough. They hit like a truck. And I mean, the unit of 10 is better than any of our monsters, any of our hammers. And I mean, compare them to a Valinor, for example. A Valinor is 16 wounds, 3-up save.
Yeah.
If you use the Allard Temple, he negates one rend, and he has a very good rampage, which is situational. You can use him offensively, but these guys have the same save. The -1 to hit is almost the same stats-wise as ignoring my -1 rend, reducing rend by 1. Sorry, and they have 30 wounds. 30. So that's almost double the number of wounds as a Valinor. And they have more than double the speed. It's 14 inches. There is no comparison for me.
Yeah.
I will take Dawn Riders any day over any of our hard-hitting units. Even if they get charged and their damage is less, they will hold the line. They will hold the line. So I see no fault in them. Perhaps I would like them to be to 200 points, not 210, but it's small.
Yeah, I mean, if you compare them to the other cavalry units in the army, you made a interesting slide for that. Here, let me quickly put it up on screen here. They are in the same price range as different units that do sort of the same damage, but have worse saves, for example. The Spite Rider Lancers, for example, they are alike in damage, but they don't have a 3-up save.
Right. And I think they have 12 inches and fly, not 14 inches.
Yeah.
And they don't have the added tech of against infantry. So more Sargard are worse. Chaos Knight, okay, they are better, but
yeah,
they
500
are
points as well.
They should be better. Yes, that is the reason. If Chaos Knights are 500 points, I think Dawn Riders should be 400 points. When I see the damage difference,
yeah,
and the extra toughness that the Chaos Knights have, but they're slower. I think they have 10 inches movement, if I'm not mistaken. So there are ups and downs. Free Guild Cavaliers have more impact on the charge and are much cheaper, but they are much worse when they get charged, and again they are slower.
Yeah, and if you start debuffing Free Guild Cavaliers, they're gonna suffer much harder than Dawn Riders will.
Yes.
With minus 1 to hit, for example, that's rough on the Cavaliers.
Exactly. And the fact that Dawn Riders can do mortal wounds, makes their damage a bit more stable. It doesn't fluctuate that much with higher save versus higher save units.
Yeah, I really like them a lot.
And I mean, if we see the stats for their damage when they get buffed, the damage is exorbitant.
Yeah, because in the Lumineth review, you had a list with 20 Dawn Riders and a Lord Regent in it. I mean, that's 60 damage versus a 4-up save.
I mean, not both units cannot have the power of his, but still it will be great.
Yeah,
and imagine that you can also, if it is an infantry unit, you will do an extra 6 to 7 mortal wounds per unit.
Yeah.
Per unit of 10. It's, this is a dream.
Yeah, I'm really happy that it just opens up a whole new play style for us, and it's something that we've been longing for in the Discord for a long time, because we were so forced to play the castle build. I mean, Elrith was castling in itself because they're so slow. All the Vanari stuff needed to castle, and you only had the Dawn Rider screens. And usually with Teclis, you needed to castle as well. So the only thing that wasn't a castle was Huracan, and that used to be so bad. Now their damage is still meh, but at least they're phenomenal movement-wise. I love our index. It's all looking pretty good. There's so much play in here. I'm super hyped about it.
Yes, the versatility in terms of list building is the greatest win of our index.
Yeah, because I think we had 2 or 3 lists in the index review, and you could swap any of those units and it would still be a fine list, I think. So I'm really happy with what we got.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I think we will be having more fun.
Yeah, honestly,
this is, after all, the most important thing, right?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, Sieg, thank you so much. That brings us to the end of part 2. This is where I leave you, or you leave me, I guess, because part 3 and 4 for the Elrith and the Huracan are going to be solo vids. But I want to thank you so much for accompanying me on this journey. There's always so much positive feedback in the comments when you're tagging along for a video. So I'm really happy that you freed up your time for these videos.
Well, thank you very much, and I love to help.
Okay, there you go. That's, best of both worlds, And also thank you so much to all of our viewers for leaving a comment and for liking. That's the way that the algorithm picks us up. It's the best way to show your gratitude for the work that we've done so far. You can also subscribe if you want to follow along for part 3 and 4 that's coming this week. And if you want to chat with either of us, you can find us in the Discord, and the link to that is in the description below. Once again, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you for part 3. Bye-bye.